Welcome back, everybody. It's Thursday, and you know what time it is? Time for some CCS action as we got Goldfish Gaming taking on Shadows in some Week 8 League of Legends. My name is Rychans, and I'm joined by Elsa. And Elsa, you ready for this match today?
I am absolutely ready for this matchup. I am super excited to be here casting Goldfish Gaming again and ShadowZ as well. We're pretty familiar with them, right, Chains, as we just saw them on the stream last week. So we got a first place versus third place matchup on the Thursday main stream today, and I am here for it. I'm excited to see what's going to come out from these bans.
Yes, as we can see here, bans are in progress right now as the first ban for Goldfish Gaming is going to take away that Jinx off the table. Super strong AD carry still after receiving a lot of nerfs recently. But other than that, on the other side, Shadow is going to take away that Mundo. And Goldfish going to respond with one more AD carry ban in the Caitlyn.
Yeah, so Goldfish really stray away from playing these sort of marksman type champions in the bot lane. We know we've primarily seen Dirt playing the Ziggs, although he's also branched out to things like Ezreal, as well as Vigar, some of those other mages in the bot lane as well that just allow him to sit back and farm. So taking away like the hyper scaling and the Jinx and also some of that early lane pressure that comes up from something like a Caitlyn is helpful in assisting Dirt's champion pool. And as you know, looking at the rest of the bans here, Trundle banned out. That's pretty much a constant ban for Goldfish, always wanting to pick those tanks into the top lane, and we know Trundle's so strong against those. Dr. Mundo banned away alongside, it looks like, both Yasuo and Yone, both of them taken away from Okami in the mid lane, but that's all right because Zeri is still up and available, very strong champion at the moment. Not only does this deny it away from Shadows, decide to lock it in here, but it gives Goldfish a strong mid laner as well. That is the one thing I will say. I do not think that Dirt plays this pick, and if Shadows has done their homework, they'll know this. So it is the mid laner first pick here, and that does allow Shadows to respond. Last week, Right Chains, we saw Frosty in his debut with Shadows. High level of mechanical ability, pretty high ranked player, and it's that, Talia pick that is the mainstay for him in the mid lane. So they're gonna go ahead and pick that one up alongside possibly the Follow Bear.
I believe the last time that I was casting Goldfish, I think Okami pulled out another marksman in the mid lane. I think it maybe Kaisa.
Yep.
Or
Yeah.
and then was the other game might have been Zeri too, but this pick seems familiar to me for some reason. So I'm definitely looking forward to this. And we know that Okami is a player who can very, very easily put the carry pants on and just kind of go crazy in a lot of these games. I mean, I know we talked about it before, but just a lot of solo queue games for both of these mid laners. I mean, over 200 wins already for both of these guys in solo queue. So definitely something to look out for is this mid lane matchup here. And Shadow is going to lock in that volley there for likely what we think is going to be the jungle role, but still could be flex top lane.
Yeah, it could be a flex, so that's a good point. And as we go back over to Goldfish, they are going to lock in this Thresh here. I can pretty much guarantee it. It's the most played by Lights Genesis by far. And just reflecting on some of the bans from Shadows with Yone and Yasuo, Yone has been really strong for Okami in the mid lane. Yasuo, I think, particularly pairs up well with Diana, which is a combination that Goldfish has been willing to bring out. But my problem with that is that, you end up leaving up the Zeri, really strong champion for Goldfish to just be able to first pick alongside the Thresh. And Zac is something that I've seen Mossy talking about a lot recently. So that would be an interesting one. I believe that would be a new pick coming out from him, at least in CCS. But his champion pool is super, super deep in solo queue. So definitely will be well practiced on this one.
Yeah, Zac is going to be the lock-in here for Mossy in the jungle. And I mean, I know there was some talk of Zac top,
Fair.
in the past year or two, but I mean, it's an option, I guess, but I really doubt that we're going to see Pina pulling out this Zac. I mean, I think Zac is a really good champion, a lot of early gank pressure and a lot of weird ganking opportunities. And I like this Janna pick in response here. Oh no, it's going to be Karma instead. So Karma the pick here for Shadows. And I would have liked the Janna pick just because there's a lot of disruptability with a lot of these Zac abilities. And, I was going to say, of course, you got to expect here that a Ziggs ban's going to come through as, Dirt's pick is dropped to the second rotation.
Yeah, Dirt's pick going to be dropped to the second rotation. What this signals to me, though, is they might have something in mind for Dirt to play. I may or may not have some inside intelligence that I received in the last moments here that we could see something pretty spicy coming out from Goldfish in this next rotation. So I've been told to get excited. I am, in fact, excited. The Vigar banned away. I talked earlier about how, that was one of the other fallbacks for Dirt, but, he certainly has other champions that he can play. When we saw him play Vigar against Horizon, which was the first time he played it this season, he had mentioned that, he hadn't played a game on Vigar in maybe a year or more. So he's a player too who's kind of willing to get outside of his comfort zone and just pick whatever the team needs and be that sort of role player. So doing that as well here with eating the bans. So for ShadowZ, looking for either an AD carry or a mid laner here, or a top laner, I'm sorry, likely to save the counter pick for top. So Xayah looks like it possibly could be the lock-in. Instead, it's going to be Ashe, though, locked in from ShadowZ, bringing that super, super long range engage. I'm a massive fan of Ashe right now as a champion, right, Chains? After we've had kind of these nerfs to Jinx, as well as even Zeri a little bit too, some of these utility AD carries start to, come through the cracks and be useful again, and Ashe certainly plays that role well.
I definitely like Ashe a lot. A lot of good points that you were talking about. A lot of long range utility. Nice.
Okay,
CC.
okay. Can we get it? Okay, Dirt is a Draven main and solo queue, and he said he would never play this because it doesn't fit his role on the team. But I would love to see this. Sorry, Rush.
I don't know. It's a hard. I think it's a bad matchup into Ashe though. That's my only thing. Is they're gonna get kited to oblivion? Yeah. That's that's what I was gonna say. Like it's really hard to play.
Okay.
Oh wow.
All right. So this is Katarina mid. So Katarina mid is a huge thing for Okami. So this is them just kind of throwing us for a loop in the champion select, because we've seen time and time again Goldfish pick up this first pick Zeri and then not have the flexibility with it. And they're gonna try to show in this game that they do in fact have that flexibility, which is gonna bring their draft stock up a lot, not only in this series, but also in future series as well. So we'll see. This is probably going to be a top lane pick here, I would assume. And it will be answering the Singe. So we'll see what they decide to pick. And it looks like they picked nothing. So
yeah, they want to. They're that confident that they're gonna 4v5 in this game. They don't even need a top laner.
Okay, so it's Ornn. Ornn is going to be the choice.
Yeah, so Ornn is the top laner here for ShadowZ, and I know we talked about this, obviously like the first time that we saw Goldfish on the stream, but I'm pretty sure that you said something about Peanut being like a Singed player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he is a big Singed player. I'm not sure about, so in solo queue he's a Mundo one trick. In competitive, he has played pretty much exclusively tanks. Did pick up the set last week to finally kind of switch that up, but he does play Singed. Something that's sort of interesting is he plays Singed. I talked about this when I was on the cast with Redacted. He doesn't play Singed in the style that you sort of normally think of it, like with the proxy kind of factor, but instead, he really just plays it as more of a traditional tank, sits in lane, kind of tries to farm up, and then in the team fights just becomes that menace who's able to run down the enemy AD carry. And I will say, I said Ashe is a good pick. I like it in this meta. That's still true. But for an immobile champion like Ashe, it is an absolute nightmare for Singe to be running you down all game long.
This is definitely, yeah. I mean, this is gonna be a really hard game for Ashe. You have Zac dive, Thresh. Zeri is just gonna outrun your slows pretty much because she can move at Mach 36. Katarina is gonna be diving in, jumping all over the place. So this is gonna be really hard. I would have liked to see maybe, obviously, hindsight is 2020 when looking at the draft, but maybe some sort of mobile AD carry. Ezreal could have been a good choice. Obviously, it was banned away, so that was taken off the table. But maybe Vayne, Kai'Sa could have been a good option. Lucian even. So I mean, a lot of options here. Even Xayah would have been fine, just because you have the Feather Storm to actually just kind of absorb that pressure for a couple seconds. But this game is going to be really hard for Ashe, I think. And if Goldfish is able to execute their composition the way that they want to, they should be able to just kind of run over this game.
Yeah, and something that worries me a little bit about the ShadowZ composition is whether or not they're going to have the DPS to be able to cut through this Singed as well as the Zac as the game goes on. Ashe is, she can certainly do a lot of damage, but doesn't have that shred through tank that some other AD carry picks might have. Beyond that, Volibear, obviously damage going to fall off pretty hard. Same thing with Ornn. So really for me, it's going to come down. We talked about this last week too, Ride Chains for ShadowZ. It's going to come down a lot to Frosty and how much he can get done in the game that he was able to play on Talia last week. It was a shaky start. Then he got fed and was able to carry the team over the line in the first game that we saw this player. with ShadowZ. So excited to see what he can do again. But he is, as you mentioned, against Okami, who has been regarded as one of the best mid laners in the CCS, in my opinion. Pretty high up there candidate for MVP in this Thursday conference in particular. So he's got a tough task in front of him today.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the stats here for this Katarina versus Talia matchup, and it looks pretty Katarina favored. I mean, and this is kind of what my initial thought was, is that this Katarina pick is just going to be very, very strong against the Talia, just because of the lack of mobility from Talia and how fast Katarina can go in and just one-shot you. But, I'm definitely looking forward to see what Okami can do in this lane. And on the other side of it, Frosty got the one trick, got the main champion. So it's time to put your money where your mouth is and, and prove that, you're not a fluke here.
Yeah, I agree. And, the one thing I agree that Katarina has a good matchup into Talia. There is a decent amount of CC for ShadowZ, which is always sort of the biggest thing that I look at against Katarina. Do you have the ability to interrupt her ultimate right away? Because otherwise, at least the bottom half of the map for ShadowZ is just going to get absolutely one shot by Okami on this Katarina here. So very excited to see what he can do with that. And I'm, I don't know about last season if he was able to pick up this Katarina, but definitely has not done so this season. So drafting coach for Goldfish with P, kind of letting him play his pick here, and he's definitely earned that right with the record that Goldfish has been able to put together.
Yeah, definitely an interesting draft here coming out from Goldfish, and credit to the coach, like you said there, just for kind of putting together this composition that is very unorthodox. Seeing Zeri in the bottom lane being taken. Obviously we've talked about this already, but Dirt being not really a traditional AD carry, or at least what we've seen, and just a lot of comfort picks here coming out for Goldfish Gaming. We're going to get into the spectator delay here in a few short moments. But first, I got to let you in on a little secret. You got to check out Pro Comps. Pro Comps, the first of its kind drafting tool aimed for competitive and solo queue play. Pro Comps allows the users live feedback and analysis on drafting, giving them recommendations on picks, notes on their matchups, and analysis on the enemy team's win conditions. If you want to gain some LP, you got to check out Pro Comps. It's the secret, I'm telling you. I know for Elsa, he's working on it right now, but these features allow you to gain an edge on your opponent and improve your drafting skills. And, I know this sounds great, but here's what sounds even better. If you use the code CCS25, you'll get 25% off of your first 6 months. That's going to be, that's going to come a long way. So make sure you guys go check out Pro Comps. We're going to take a short break as we get through this competitive integrity spectator delay, and we're going to be on the Rift shortly for game number 1 between Goldfish Gaming and ShadowZ.
Everybody panic. Hold on. I'm about to say something really cool. 3, 41, 9, and lift off! No one dies screaming without me. I feel like I forgot to shoot something. You're starting to bore me. She's such a loser, always ready to cry. Ah, come on. What's the worst that could happen?
And we are on to the rift for game number 1 between Goldfish Gaming and ShadowZ. For ShadowZ on the red side, Young Nats on Ornn in the top lane, Blue Shift on Volibear in the jungle, Frosty on Talia in the mid lane, and Dirty mid main and Donald's girlfriend rounding out the bottom lane with Ash and Karma.
All right, and it looks like we're going to get a late invade here, so I'll try to go as fast as I can. We got Peanut in the top lane for Goldfish on the Singed, Mossy taking the Zac into the jungle, Okami on the signature, Katarina in the mid lane. We got Dirt on the Zeri, and Lights Genesis with the Thresh duty as usual, and Young Nats, captain of ShadowZ, leading the charge here into the Goldfish jungle, but it looks like they are going to be spotted out by Lights Genesis.
Yeah, and I mean, worst comes to worst there, that just gets you a ward on the enemy red buff, so you can see where Mossy is going to be starting. Either way, that information is very, very useful in this early game, and it's going to be able to help, you know, Blue Shift and also your lanes kind of just dictate how they're going to play in this early game.
Yeah, and something that's worth noting is one of the reasons that I think Zac is not as common of a pick right now is the early game. You know, he clears the jungle okay, but it's going to be slow in comparison to a champion like Volibear, a champion like lots of other picks in the meta. And then on top of that, Zac is a very level-dependent champion. Definitely wants to get a couple of points at least into that elastic slingshot before he's going to start to be effective at all. So Volibear, on the other hand, you know, once you get that level 3, you're pretty much good to go. You're able to gank lanes. So Blue Shift should be looking, I think, to take advantage of some of this early priority, is taking the Krug. So could opt to stay on this top side of the map, or, you know, might just be doing kind of that full clear and then going down to the bot side. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, for the time being, both of these junglers starting on the top side of the map. And, you know, I would imagine that it's going to be, you know, these ganks into the bottom lane at level 3 here. You can already see that in this early game is not going to be fun at all for Zeri, especially into the Ash Karma, two very, very strong poking champions who are just very, very abusive in the lane. And yeah, they're just not going to have fun there.
Yeah, and I think, you know, that does put Dirt and Lights Genesis in the position that they're sort of used to being in, which is just they're not expected to win lane. They're expected to survive, not die to the enemy team, and try to come away with as much CS as they can. So if they're able to do that, I think we can pretty much consider that a win for Goldfish, because they tend to invest resources heavily elsewhere on the map. And with Zeri as a champion as well, not something that you think of as a champion that needs to bully that early game in order to be successful. She wants to get a couple items under her belt still before fighting some of those team fights, and we think of her as that more of a late game champion. So I think for Dirt and Lights Genesis, yeah, they're down a little bit of a CS, but they're not going to sweat it too much. But like you said, Chains, we got both junglers coming to party it up in this bottom lane potentially.
Yeah, an early roam here for Frosty, able to get that wave at least in control and pushed in a little bit in favor of ShadowZ here in this mid lane. Ooh, Hook's going to land. We'll see if they go for anything further. But no, just some damage back and forth traded here, and both of these junglers have, you know, at least Blue Shift has made their way into the mid lane, going back up to top, try to get to secure this double scuttle. Mossy's still staying around, looking for something.
Yeah, and, you know, double scuttle, it used to be a lot stronger, not nearly as strong now as it was in the past, and Mossy was able to pick up, you know, his whole jungle. None of that was denied by Blue Shift. So I think probably what was happening here for Mossy coming down to the bot lane, you're not going to be able to have enough damage or priority to make a gank happen at that point, but probably just shadowing just in case some sort of dive is supposed to come through. But speaking of ganks,
Peanut could be in trouble here. Flipping Blue Shift over the top, has to flash away to safety with the Ghost. It should be enough speed, but Young Nats flashing forward, trying to find the pillar here, but in the bottom lane, we're fighting again. Hook's gonna land onto Donald's girlfriend, and they're just trading back and forth. The Root's gonna land onto Lights Genesis. For the time being, just half HP for pretty much everyone here, except for Dirty mid main, who does have the HP advantage. Oh, Zac, but Mossy here now finds the knockup, but the Q goes wide, and Dirt is taken really low. One or two more autos would definitely be enough to take down the Zeri, but the cleanse is still available. but they're still chasing down. Shadow's bot lane is hungry for some kills, and they're seeing low health bars all over the place, but for the time being, just going to get this wave in. We'll see if Mossy looks for the re-engage, and yes, he does. His knockup's going to find one here as the Flash Flay comes through. They're trying to find the damage over the top, and the first blood will go over to Dirt, but Dirty Midway trying to find one back, flashing forward, getting the kill there, and now Dirt taking really low, a few more autos, and yes, the double kill comes through for Dirty Midman, but will trade back, and it's a 2 for 2 in the bottom lane.
Yeah, 2 for 2, even though it was 3v2 for Goldfish. So Mossy, second time going in, is able to land the stretching strike, but it will be Dirty Midmain picking up both of those kills. And last week, Rychains, we talked a little bit about, Dirty Midmain, weirdly enough, in this bottom lane role, started out the season playing pretty much exclusively the Aphelios and the Jinx. We've seen the meta kind of move on from those champions.
Ooh. Frosty getting aggressed on here. Mossy getting pushed under the tower. The cells will divide, and we'll see now. Blue Shift is in the area. Should be able to secure this one down, and Mossy just going to kind of go down with a little over-aggression.
Yeah, I mean, these ganks are just pretty greedy, I would say. The one in the bot lane was... I mean, it made sense, and they did end up getting both of the kills, but I just think that's pretty... going to be hard to pull off. If you're Mossy, because Okami didn't look like he was ready to follow that one up whatsoever. And we already touched on how the early game can be kind of weak for this Zac. But speaking of kind of weak early game, Young Nats having his way in the top lane on Ornn right now. And Ornn, another champion that's been rising in popularity.
I definitely like, Ornn here. A lot of big scaling with those ornaments. You have a lot of nice engage here with the Ornn Horn, and you can just frontline and tank for so long. You become so tanky on this champion. And I definitely do like the pick a lot here, but yeah, you can see Singed able to just sustain relatively well here, using that ultimate to get that health back. And Peanut's going to be okay in this lane for the time being here, but if you look on the other side of the map, ShadowZ has started up this dragon.
They have started up the dragon, so should be able to get this one for free. I would think Goldfish is probably aware of this, but there's just really nothing that they can do. And just to touch on again on Young Nats choosing the Ornn in this situation. Last week we saw him on some carry champions trying to go toe-to-toe with Sensei Squad in the top lane, and it really didn't work out. Even though ShadowZ did win 2-0, Young Nats fell behind in lane pretty substantially. So I kind of just like the decision to put him on a tank, put him on something, like you said, that gets really tanky, has that Ornn Horn that is, I don't want to say it's an easy ability, but you can it's sort of the premier team fight engage in that you don't really have to set it up like something like a Mega Gnar sort of ultimate. So just giving Young Nats that really clear role on the team hopefully should benefit them as we sort of enter the 5v5 team fight phase. But speaking of that, Blue Shift is here clearing out some wards onto the bottom lane, and the Goldfish duo looks like they're going to be threatened under the turret with Frosty also showing up.
Yeah, and Goldfish bot lane is going to have to lose some plates here. I mean, also, if you look at it, Okami is just smashing the mid lane tower here. Right. But yeah, 3 members strong in this bottom lane. Going to grab 2 tower plates for themselves, likely. I mean, the second one should go down here. But either way, the gold advantage is there for ShadowZ in this bottom lane. And Frosty's able to get back. Only going to lose 1 tower plate for that. So overall, it is a beneficial play for ShadowZ.
Yeah, it is. And we can see as the map just really split right now with Peanut up on the top side, getting some help with Okami to grab this Rift Herald. So Peanut, we've seen him get a little bit chunked out, but has gone fairly even with Ornn. And this is basically par for the course for Goldfish, right? They're not going to feel uncomfortable in a situation where their bot lane is getting pushed out, because that's sort of their game plan. That's kind of what happens in general. They really focus more of their resources over to the top side of the map. But I will say for ShadowZ, clearly they have done their homework. Clearly they have a plan coming into this game, because they have put a lot of their resources into the bottom lane, which earlier in the season, as I was saying a little bit before, they were happy to do in that meta with the Jinx and the Aphelios, who are so hungry to grab that gold in order to pick up items. So this team they're very comfortable playing around the bot lane. They've done it well so far. Ashe has hit level 6 as well, so they can start to look for maybe a little bit more they have some more tools to start off these fights in the bottom lane. And speaking of fights,
Let's Genesis going in, gonna find the CC there, and Okami's gonna pick up the kill on the enemy support. Frosty and Blue Shift kind of just waiting in the wings here, but the Herald is gonna be spawned in this bottom lane, and now they look for it. Enchanted Crystal Arrow is gonna find Light Genesis, and Light Genesis should go down as the wall comes through. Now Blue Shift's gonna flash onto Dirt. Dirt has to burn the cleanse here, but the Stormbringer is coming down, and they are zoning out Dirt. But where's the rest of the team?
Got him.
They're just trying to fight Okami here. Okami's going back in to find Dirty mid main. Frosty, the last member alive, and will go down as well here. And it is an absolute disaster in the bottom lane for ShadowZ.
Yeah, ShadowZ just lacking the coordination that they need to win that skirmish. And I really like the way that you pointed it out, right, Chains, with Blue Shift. You know, where is the rest of the team when the Volibear went in, flashing forward onto the Zeri, locking her down, and then still having the Stormbringer available as well for that additional gap close. But because of the fact that there's no one to back him up, it just doesn't matter. And really, it would have only taken a couple of rocks from a Talia Q or, maybe a Karma Q. But Peanut's in trouble again.
Peanut caught on the wrong side of the rift here. Has to burn the flash away and will dodge out from the Ornhorn. And has the Blast Cone to get out to safety and just kind of run around here. And Peanut's going to get out with his life.
Yeah, and something else to note, Peanut has been able to survive multiple ganks, in part thanks to taking the Ghost, which is something that we've seen him do on Singed before, as Donell's girlfriend will be forced to flash away. But it does create sort of an interesting playstyle for Goldfish without that teleport, which we think of as an absolute necessity usually in competitive play. Usually teams are always going to pick that one up just because of the split ability to answer split push, as well as split push yourself. But especially against Ornn, I don't think that Peanut needs to be afraid about being able to answer split push. So interesting choice, and it has paid off so far. But Lights Genesis is going to get
just camping in that bush, trying to find a pick there on maybe a stray member of ShadowZ. And they might have found it here. Death Sentence going to find the mark onto Frosty, and they're going under the tower here. The knockup is true, but it doesn't matter because Okami has too much damage, and now sitting 3-0-1 on this Katarina.
Yeah, and it's really easy to talk about, all day about Okami, who's so good, his mechanics. Same thing, often with Mossy as well. But Lights Genesis has just been an absolute rock so far for this Goldfish gaming team, just with the magnet thresh hook on Frosty there over the wall. And this is what we've seen him do all season long. Has just been extremely consistent and has been able to play other champions successfully as well. That might be part of the reason that this thresh remains open in so many of these drafts. But Lights Genesis has just been a huge pickup for this Goldfish team, and it's a big reason that they've been able to make the turnaround that they have this season.
For sure, and you just looking at the scoreboard, you can see the impact that this player has. 6 out of 7 KP in this game, 13 minutes in. So yeah, Lights Genesis definitely putting in work in this early game here, hitting the hooks, making a lot of plays happen for their team. For the time being, though, things have kind of relaxed for a little bit. Taking a look at the game, a 2.3k gold lead in favor of Goldfish Gaming right now is this Dragon. Not going to spawn for a long time, but it is going to be Hextech on the Rift here as the gates are active now. Hopefully seeing a little bit of crazy stuff going on there as Okami looking for Frosty, but instead just going to find the poke damage, get the wave in, and take a base probably.
Yeah, and I think that Goldfish, they do have a gold lead built up, but I think they're also probably feeling happy to sit back and scale a little bit. Zach is just going to continue to get tanky, especially Mossy just one level away from 9 when he starts to get that max range on the Elastic Slingshot. And then also the Zeri, who quietly for Dirt, all of a sudden, 3 kills, has the Trinity Force completed. So these are some of the points that Zeri needs to get to in order to be impactful in the game. And there should be a certain point in time, I believe, and, again, Rychins, you're kind of the AD carry expert here, but I believe there should be a point at which Zeri should be more powerful than this Ashe. I guess the 1v1 isn't, super impactful, but in the overall team fight as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know what you think.
I think the main point is that, Zeri was able to get through this early game relatively unscathed. I mean, yeah, you're down a few waves, but it's not that big of a deal, right? You have 3 kills, you have the gold here, and hold on again as Frosty is just going to get 3-man and go down as Lights Genesis says, I made all these plays happen, I'm going to take the kill this time. But either way, yeah, I mean, Zeri is definitely eventually gonna get stronger than this Ashe, and that's gonna either come at the 2 or 3 item power spike here with the Runons, or even the Titanic or the Black Cleaver. So I mean, those are basically the 4 items that we're pretty much guaranteed to see come through here for this Zeri. It's just a matter of when they're gonna come through, and you can already see that Goldfish Gaming is starting on the second Rift Herald of the game.
Yeah, they have been prioritizing the Rift Herald pretty heavily. Did get a charge off in the bottom lane, even though they weren't able to take the turret down. So, but with the first turret of the game going to ShadowZ in the bot lane, this is really critical for them. I'm a little bit surprised to see what I am right now, which is that we see Frosty coming back out into the mid lane. I would think that after he clears this wave out, is probably going to rotate down into the bot lane, and they'll just have Dirty Main sit mid and clear the waves, probably with Donell's girlfriend babysitting here, because otherwise he'll just get one shot by the Katarina. But they do want to get Talia into the side lane. Talia, pretty good side lane champion in general at clearing out those waves. But I guess this far behind, behind the Katarina, there is a good chance that Frosty's just going to get run down. So I do understand a little bit of his hesitancy in heading down bot, but we'll go down there, and it is going to be Dirt just continuing to match. They'll just let Frosty shove in.
Yeah, I do want to mention here, just taking a look at the gold, as Dirty Midlane is actually up about 400 gold in this bottom lane. Obviously, we expect Okami. Okami's up about, like 1.7k. Yeah, so that's a lot here, but we're getting the gauge in the mid lane as they're going in. Okami's going to get stunned up here as Stormbringer's coming through, but it's time to bounce as Mossy ravaging the back lines, and one's going to go down already as Peanut is running rampant in the back lines. Blue Shift trying to find the kills here as the knockup comes through, and this looks pretty darn good for ShadowZ here as they're going to find 4 kills in return for 2.
Yeah, and that's just a 5v4 on the map as Dirt had not rotated into the mid lane. Not only that, but Goldfish is the one who opted into this engagement with Mossy stretch striking in to start it off, maybe trying to get some kind of pick right off the bat and then be able to drop the Rift Herald off of it. So Zeri has rotated now to defend the mid lane, so it's not going to be any more turrets going down, but 4 kills over to the side of ShadowZ, going to be padding their pockets a little bit. Frosty picking up some of that gold specifically. And so it will still be about a 500 gold lead for Goldfish, but I think that made the goal. I think it was about 3 times that prior to the fight. So ShadowZ definitely getting themselves back into this game, and just in time as the dragon is about to spawn.
Ooh, Death Sentence finds the mark, but a nice usage of the Unstoppable there from Young Nats will not cause that CC to come through. And yeah, it's very interesting here. Maybe we might get an engage coming through here as all 5 of ShadowZ are in this mid lane, but the Rift Herald has been spawned by Mossy, and I believe it should get the tower. Oh no, not yet here, as the tower's still a little bit too much HP. But yeah, interesting engage there in that last fight as Mossy going in without the AD carry. A little bit odd.
Yeah, I don't know if they didn't have vision, or either that they didn't have vision or they were just being greedy. And I mean, to some extent, you can't blame them. They have absolutely been smashing the map so far. But importantly, in those earlier fights, I don't believe that they were outnumbered. So that may have been part of their ability to do so. So both teams are going to just stand around this dragon, both having 1 picked up so far. And the Ornhorn is available. So that's kind of the biggest engage piece that I see over the side of ShadowZ, and he's going to bring it out.
Oh, nice job there, getting the stun onto the Ornn, and Blue Shift's gonna get flipped back into the enemy team. Stormbringer's gonna buy some time, but it's not enough time as now Mossy diving into the backline, trying to find kills, but the insane Death Sentence onto Frosty is gonna force the flash out. It's running him down. Young Nats should go down here as Okami is just running through, shumpling all over the place, but a nice job with the CC there. Dirty Midlane is doing so much damage, and yeah, the dragon will go over here to Goldfish, and Dirty Midlane a little too far forward, but no, Genesis is gonna go down here as into the backlines. Everyone is just diving in. Mossy going onto the tower, not going to be able to get that Q pulled back, and it's a 4 for 2 now, back in favor of Goldfish and the dragon.
Yeah, 4 for 2 for Goldfish, who just, I mean, it turned out okay there, but it just really seemed like they were once again forcing that engagement into the mid lane, with Okami jumping forward onto Dirty mid main, allowing him to do a ton of damage to Goldfish and, you know, make it a little bit of a close fight. But at the end of the day, it is Goldfish coming out heavily on top, hitting the dragon, also picking up the mid turret. So, you know, just like that, it is now almost a 3k gold lead, expanding from just that 500. And, you know, we can just see sort of the explosive nature of Goldfish in these team fights. But with that team fight in particular, this is not a look that we're used to seeing from Goldfish as they have front-to-back team fighting setup. You know, we could see that as they kind of organized around Dirt, allowing him to stay alive, continuing to do damage. And it's exciting to see them play this different style, because once they start to go up against some of these top teams, they're going to have to show it.
Frosty getting engaged on here by Mossy. Yeah, but Mossy's just gonna be able to get, you know, we're gonna have to run at least, because Frosty's doing some damage here. But just like that, the Baron is started up now by ShadowZ, and I don't know if this is gonna work here, as now Donald's girlfriend gonna get hooked up and should go down here. But on the other side of the fight, Peanut in the 1v3 will go down as a shutdown goes over now to Dirty mid main, and it's a 1-for-1 so far, 4v4 in this top side river. But the health bars are low. Dirt trying to find some kills here as the Enchanted Crystal Arrow is not available. But look at Frosty on the side, trying to find an angle, trying to find some sort of pick onto someone. But either way, I think both of these teams are going to just take their 1-for-1 and call it a day.
Yeah, and it's a nice pick from ShadowZ using the Enchanted Crystal Arrow to pick off Peanut. Also, we were able to get the Ghost off of that. But in terms of starting the Baron, there is just absolutely no way that ShadowZ can Baron fast enough with this team composition in particular at this point in the game for it to be a threat. I don't really think that they're at the point yet where they can you know, use that Baron as a bait, given that Dirty mid main and Frosty, their only sources of real damage onto the Baron, and Ash, not necessarily the slowest Baroning AD carry, but also not necessarily the fastest either. So what I criticized ShadowZ a lot for last week was their macro, both in terms of their rotations as well as kind of their decision making. That illustrates it there. But on the other hand, they didn't overcommit to the Baron to the point where it allowed Goldfish to take it, or, you know, where it allowed Goldfish to get multiple kills in return. So playing a little bit more disciplined than we saw them last game or last week.
Yeah, and you know, we still have about 1:45 until this next dragon comes up. It's likely going to be the next point of contention here for both of these teams, as it could be a potential soul point coming through for Goldfish Gaming. For the time being, though, everyone just kind of farming waves, trying to find some, you know, some sort of advantage here. And now Light Genesis could be getting picked as they are diving in. A 2-man knockup's going to come through, and they are bouncing right now as Light Genesis are going at the front lines of Goldfish. Or sorry, of ShadowZ. Blue Shift now in trouble as Okami's gonna dash in, and this could be disastrous here for Okami. Get to that jump, he's going in, gonna find it, and we are spinning. There's so much damage coming through from Okami. He's gonna find 2 on the backside. A triple kill comes through now for the Katarina. Young Nats is the next one on the table, but the kill will go over to Peanut instead, and it's a 4-for-0 in favor of Goldfish Gaming.
4-for-0 for Goldfish Gaming. They were thinking about turning back onto the Baron, but instead they're just going to push it up the mid lane. Okami is going to take a recall here as he has fallen low, so maybe going to meet the team back at Baron after this. But with, looks like 8 seconds on Blue Shift is going to be the first one to come up other than the Karma. So turret's going to be taken down. They will leave the inhibitor because they don't want to risk that. Nice, again, some nice discipline there from Goldfish. And instead, they are going to go over towards the dragon, which hasn't spawned yet, but they will be able to get priority and clearing out a lot of the vision that ShadowZ has been able to put down in their own jungle.
I think it would have been interesting to see them camp the Hex Gate, actually, because you saw Blue Shift just kind of go right in without any regard, you know. It could have been interesting to see them just kind of sit there and wait and see if anyone comes through. But we'll see now as the dragon is going to spawn in the next couple seconds. Genesis getting chunked out, but Mossy's going in a lot, really far from everyone, though, as Mossy trying to do some damage in the backline, but the Lantern is going to be enough to get him to safety. Time being Okami getting run around here, but Exhaust is crucial, and the shot time goes over to Dirty mid main, and now they are running through the fight. The cells have been divided as Mossy's going to go down, and Zeri, it's time for Lightning, but we'll see if there's anything there, as Ornhorn's going to be sounded, not going to find the knockups on anyone. Dirty Midman is Gale forcing in, trying to find Dirt, but Dirt will prevail for the time being.
They can win this.
Young Nats flashing forward. This looks pretty good here, as Zeri is just kind of free hitting in the backside. Peanut just ends up behind the entire enemy team somehow, as Blue Shift is getting chunked down. Look at the Titanic Hydra doing work, as Young Nats is going to go down as well. Frosty, the last member on the table, and Dirt is going crazy and going to find the triple kill.
And it's finally Dirt's moment for Goldfish Gaming, a player who all year has just sort of sat back, played for the team, and when they finally give him the opportunity to pick up this Zeri and be a, more of a hard carry type of player, he absolutely delivers. And I just have to say, ever since Zeri as a champion has come out, when you see that situation where there's like 4 members of one team with low health bars and an alive Zeri, it seems like every single time the Zeri ends up staying alive and just cleaning up the entire fight.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we see the Titanic Hydra being the second item built there, and that came in so crucial in that team fight, just being able to get that spray damage coming through from the Q, able to kite it around, and yeah, I mean, very well done there, and that's the situation where Zeri thrives in.
Yeah, and it is for sure. Being able to hit that AoE damage, and also just with the mobility, able to jump forward again and again and again. I will admit that, Dirty Midmain though.
Oh my gosh, Lights Genesis getting chunked here as Dirty Midmain just going in. We'll find the 1-for-1 here as Dirty Midmain should go down, but the Enchantress Arrow trying to get the kill back on Dirt, but yeah, Dirt is just gonna be too strong here. Now has that Runons picked up, and this is about time where Zeri is just gonna go crazy.
Yeah, and Dirty Midmain did do a ton of damage there. We just saw him able to absolutely shred through Light's Genesis. Did pick up the Wit's End with these first 3 items that were grabbed. So we'll be able to give him a little bit of reprieve from several of the members of Goldfish, but also that on-hit, shredding through some of these champions like Thresh, like Zac, and even Singed as well. But really right now, I don't want to say the other members of ShadowZ aren't contributing, because they absolutely are, but it kind of seems like a one-man army, with Dirty Midmain doing the vast majority of the damage for ShadowZ at the moment. So if he could get some help, that would be great. But Frosty instead, not being very helpful.
Yeah, Frosty just getting caught in the side lane, overextended, and just going to be an easy kill pickup for Goldfish Gaming, as they are pretty much all here in this top side now, and maybe they have their eyes set on the Baron after the mid laner has been taken down for their opponent. We'll see what happens here, as it is spotted out, but it looks like they are on it. Peanut is going to do some zoning work for the time being. We'll end up walking back, but now Mossy going back in, going to find the knock to 1 as you were trying to find the damage coming through. It's time for Zeri. Watch Zeri in the back lines, and watch Okami doing so much damage as Blue Shift gonna go down. The Ornhorn has been sounded, gonna find the knockup onto 1, but Mossy is going at Young Nats, but the rest of the team is on the way. Young Nats gonna go down as Dirt goes legendary. Peanut trying to find more in the back line, but just gonna get kited out to oblivion there, and that's 2 members down for ShadowZ, and it's gonna be a free Baron now.
And crucially in that fight, Dirty Midmain was on the other side of the Baron pit, separated from the team, so wasn't able to get in there and offer his damage. And while Mossy did end up falling low after engaging into like 3 or 4 members, they don't have the lethal to kill these tanky champions. And I brought up sort of this concern in the champion select, which is, do you have the DPS going against multiple tank champions to come through to win the team fights? It's not the only problem that ShadowZ is facing right now, certainly, but I will say that when they're without Dirty Midmain, it really looks like they lack damage on this lineup. And Frosty getting picked off in the side lane, as you said, over and over again, Ride Chains, definitely not helping them in that regard either. So it will be a Baron picked up for Goldfish Gaming, allowing them to pressure these side lanes. Again, Peanut does not have the teleport, so if he does choose to separate himself, will not be able to join the team at a moment's notice, like Young Nats will be. But instead, it looks like they are going to shove out this bot lane, and it'll be a little while still. Well, quite a while before the dragon spawns, but it will be this side of the map that's the focus for Goldfish, as that will be the next major objective.
Yeah, absolutely. 1 minute on the dragon, and this is a potential soul for Goldfish Gaming. Blue Shift could be in trouble here, as he's going to get caught out. Ignite's going to be ticking down. Knockup's going to land, and the Stormbringer is going to be popped. The Chance Crystal Arrow is going to find Mossy. And a nice hook from Lights Genesis is going to stop the Ornhorn. There was no R2 cast. We'll see if they continue forward or instead if they're just going to look back towards this Baron as Young Nat's posturing forward. Peanut doing the same, but on the other side. Getting this midway pushed in. They have the cannon. It's wearing purple, and Goldfish is wearing purple. This inhib is going to be under threat here as Mossy charging it up. Going to be jumping in, finding the knockups onto one, but an immediate stun by Blue Shift. The Locket's going to buy some time, and the hook's going to land onto Blue Shift again as now it's time to spin. Okami going crazy, going to find one kill as Young Nats has to flash away to safety, and Peanut is running down Frosty. Frosty will have to flash away as Peanut now as well going to have to flash, and Flash is going all over the place here, but in the end, Blue Shift goes down, and it's no jungler for ShadowZ, and Goldfish going to look for this soul. Oh no, they're not. They're going to go for the re-engage, and the hook's going to land onto Dono's girlfriend in the back line, so Kami goes on a killing spree, finds two, and this is an absolute disaster here as Goldfish catches ShadowZ in rotation, going to get the full ace, and they're going to be pushing down the Nexus into the mid lane. They have a few minions, but Mossy should be able to tank up the tower really quickly as one Nexus tower falls. Blue Shift is up, but you can't do anything here, but instead we're just going to go and try and kill. Let's pad the KDAs as Blue Shift going to get hooked up, but no, the Nexus will fall because there's only 3,000 health on that thing instead of 5,000, and Goldfish is going to take game one.
And this game was just the domination of Dirt on the Zeri, finally getting to carry his team over the line, finally getting the chance to be sort of the spotlight of this team composition. And even in a game where we had a Katarina pick that definitely popped off, by the way, I would still say that Dirt had a great performance in this game, was definitely set up by the team to succeed, but we saw in those crucial moments, you know, having to survive bot lane in situations where the rest of the team was, you know, going forward for those engages, like when he was able to kite back against Blue Shift on the Volibear, and later as well at the Dragon, cleaning up that fight alongside Peanut. Just really exciting performance to see from Goldfish as a whole, bringing out sort of this different look, and it just makes it even more difficult for teams that could potentially be facing Goldfish in playoffs to plan their drafting strategy against this team.
Absolutely, and I mean, you know, Goldfish giving a look that we haven't seen all season and showing that they can execute it just as well as the looks that they were giving, you know what I mean? So it just adds to the unpredictability of this team and what they can do, and that just makes them that much more scary.
Yeah, it does, and for ShadowZ, there were definitely some positives. I felt like early in the game, they did a nice job of focusing on the bottom lane, getting Dirty mid main ahead, but then, you know, things just started to fall apart as Goldfish was just finding the engages, finding some more successful engages. You know, we saw Mossy whiff the one in the mid lane early on, but just kind of stuck to his guns, continuing to go in over and over again, and it all ends up paying off. So as we go into this next game, really, I would like to see a different pick out of Frosty. I mean, I know Talia is the selection for this player, but it just didn't end up working out. Got caught out over and over again, which, you know, you could argue that that has nothing to do with the fact that he's playing Talia in particular. But I felt like the Talia didn't really add any utility to the team. You know, it should theoretically have some sort of pick capabilities with the ultimate, but weren't able to show that off. So either we got to see the Talia played in a different style, or just back to the drawing board for Frosty's mid laner.
We will see what ShadowZ does in this preparation for game number 2. We're going to take a short break, but we'll be back for game 2 shortly to see if Goldfish can take it into a fashion or if ShadowZ is going to push it to game 3. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, and that was the shortest break ever. But we are back in this lobby getting ready for the pick ban for game number 2. And we talked a little bit about, what we want to see ShadowZ do in this next game. The Talia pick, it's nice for Frosty and all, but it's hard to play in this sort of situation, right? Where Okami just has a lot of picks that he can play against it without any issue.
Yeah, and I mean that kind of is the problem playing against Goldfish in general is Okami has such a wide champion pool that he's really got an answer to just about anything that Frosty is going to be able to put out, especially since we've got two players who with very differing play styles with Frosty being that sort of Talia one trick, has played other things. Trying to remember what else he played yesterday. Is capable of playing these other things, whereas we see Okami as the player who can just be really, really flexible and get the counter pick. And I mean, speaking of counter pick, they're on the red side this time for Goldfish, so I would expect that they will that they will give the counter pick to Okami. That's just kind of normally the way that they draft on this side because they don't typically prioritize the counter pick for Peanut, usually paying those tank champions. And it was the Lucian as the second champion that was played by Frosty last week when we casted them. So that could be an option. Lucian, I know recently has been getting stronger in the mid lane. Generally a pretty safe pick, but I don't know if it's something that you would want to blind. But we'll have to see here as the bans are coming through. Looks like this time, my suggestion, they are going to be banning the Thresh away instead of the Yone. If you're going to counterpick Yone anyways, I mean, I just don't really feel like there's a point in banning it out. I think honestly the Yasuo ban still is kind of a head scratcher a little bit for me. But same bans coming from Goldfish. These are clearly, champions that they just don't want to play against for the style of their team. And they're not interested in drafting them either. So far, we will see a mirror of, a copy of what we saw last draft, except with teams on either side, with Zeri being locked in and then Volibear for Goldfish. And it will be Nautilus alongside it.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, when you can't give Lights Genesis the Dash, give him another hook champion, right. Nautilus, the choice in this bottom lane, and, honestly, there's a lot of situations where I like Nautilus better, and I think Into Zeri is one of those. You have Depth Charge, which is, for sure lockdown CC, point and click that is going to absolutely hit someone, and it's not like you can cleanse it either, right? It's gonna hit you. There's nothing you can do to stop it besides just not be in range. But if Lights Genesis can play like he's been playing, the range doesn't seem to be an issue. Hitting a lot of hooks, looking very, very good. And Lilia is the choice here for the jungle of ShadowZ, and hovering some enchanters for this Zeri, and Yuumi is going to be the lock here.
Yeah, so Yuumi being locked in, I just would echo, Ziggs is probably going to be the answer as it was left open here for Goldfish Gaming. But, I want to echo what you said, Right Chains, which is just, not only the Nautilus, but also the Volibear. Just really strong gap close, really strong CC. Volibear, at least once he gets his ultimate, having some additional gap close. So I know, especially, when we listen to even pro players talk about when can you pick Zeri, especially after it has been nerfed down a little bit from the original state. And, you want to pick it into teams that lack sort of this hard engage. So, I like what Goldfish did against it. With that being said, I think it was evident that by the end of last game, the bottom laners for ShadowZ were missing some of the agency that they normally would have when Dirty Midmain has his hands on something like the Jinx. So getting a super scaling pick like the Zeri, and then the Yuumi, which is a really, really hard scaling champion as well, will be important for ShadowZ, so that unlike last game, even if they fall behind, they still kind of have that safety net of the Zeri and the Yuumi continuing to scale through. Maybe they can push it to the late game and, use the Zeri to push through the team fights like Goldfish was able to do for themselves. But if Goldfish gets the same kind of lead that they did like last game, I don't see that happening. So they'll have to shore up the early game as well.
And this is something that I'm noticing here. It looks very, very scary for the ShadowZ bot lane is if Lights Genesis is able to land a few of these hooks together, it's going to be very, very disastrous for the ShadowZ bot lane because, like you said, they're scaling picks and Nautilus is going to want to just engage early. Level 2, they're able to go in and, basically win 2v2 against Shadow's bot lane. So you have to be very, very scared if you're, dirty mid main here in this game, because you cannot be getting hooked early. Otherwise, the lane is just over.
Yeah, and we saw a lot of hooks landed from Lights Genesis in the last game, so definitely going to have to be watching out for that one. And controlling the wave state, I think early on bottom is going to be a really crucial part of this matchup, because if for Zeri and Yuumi, definitely going to want to be falling back and under their tower early on, so that they don't fall prey to the Nautilus hooks as well as the Volibear ganks. So we'll be able to, I'll be excited to see if Dirty Midmain can show that level of mastery in terms of the wave control. But with Gragas locked in for the top lane here, most likely for Peanut has been a champion that he has liked to play, providing some of that disengage, is going to be answered by a tank once again, as Shen will be the selection for Young Nats.
I believe actually that this matchup is favoring to Gragas, if I'm not mistaken. At least just from what I've seen here. I'm not 100% sure, but I guess we'll see as the game goes on. Seraphine going to be the lock-in for the mid lane of Shadows, and on the other side, counterpick for Okami is a scary idea. And you can see a lot of hovers coming through, and Kiana is going to be the one that they stick with. And this could get very ugly very quickly.
Yeah, and Kiana is another classic champion for Okami, and I like the way that Goldfish Gaming set this up in the draft. It is giving counterpick to Okami, so theoretically you're kind of waiting to see what Frosty's going to bring, and it looks like it will be this Seraphine, so kind of a double enchanter kind of look here from ShadowZ. But clearly Goldfish has built the team comp around this Kiana as well, picking up the Ziggs, picking up the Zeri with that AP coming from the top lane, and the bottom lane allows Okami to be a little bit more flexible with the damage profile and grab this Kiana, which is just an absolute monster in the team fights.
Yeah, absolutely. And if this Kiana is able to get just the slightest advantage, especially with the champion, Okami can go crazy and just sort of take over the game very, very easily here. So definitely something to look out for, and I imagine that Blue Shift is going to need to be, in this lane a decent bit, just to help out Frosty, who's playing sort of a really passive pick in this Seraphine. I do want to mention, I looked at the stats here. Shen is good to Gragas. I don't remember what I said. I don't think it was that though, but Shen is definitely favored in this matchup, so just wanted to clear that up there. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be very, very scary for Frosty.
Yeah, no, and I think to touch on the top lane matchup, it is who is favored. I think in these sort of tank situations, it is usually just kind of both of them slapping on each other. Not that we won't. Not that it's impossible to see a solo kill or something come through, but when you're picking something like the Shen or something like the Gragas, you're thinking a lot more about just sort of coasting through lane, picking up as much CS as you can, rather than, kind of the counter matchups. And for me, I think the Shen was the selection, as well as the Seraphine for Frosty, because they're really going all in on Dirty Mid-Main this game. I was saying to Rychains off stream that Dirty Midmaid looked a little bit frustrated at the end of that game when he was going for that kill that he was able to grab onto Lights Genesis, but then kind of dying because he was just putting himself out of position, just feeling a little bit desperate to grab those kills. So this is Shadow saying, we got your back. We're going to draft around you 100%. We're giving you these double enchanters to heal you up, the Shen to give you the additional speed as well, and the Lilia to kind of set up some of that long range engage and some CC too. So this is the moment for Dirty Midmain. Can he be able to pull Shadows over the line here against the best team CCS Thursday has to offer in Goldfish Gaming? I'm excited to see what happens as we go into game 2.
Absolutely, just reiterating, Dirty Midmain has the 2 supports, has the Shen ultimate. It is your time to shine. We'll see if Dirty Midmain is gonna shine, or if Goldfish will be the stars today. And we are gonna take a short break before we get on to the ref for game number 2 between Goldfish Gaming and Shadow. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Everybody, panic! Hold on. I'm about to say something really cool. 3, 41, 9, and lift off! No one dies screaming without me. I feel like I forgot to shoot something. You're starting to bore me. She's such a loser. Always ready to cry. Da-da-da-da. Aw, come on. What's the worst that could happen?
And we are back onto the riff for game number 2 between Goldfish Gaming and ShadowZ. This time, Goldfish Gaming on the red side, Peanut in the top lane, on the Gragas, Mozzie on the Volley Bear, in the jungle, Okabe on the Yana. Hold on 1 second here. We're going to get a 5v5 in this bottom lane as Light Chance is going to face check in. Oh, a 5-man taunt from Young Nats. The first one's going to go over to Dirty Mid Main. Young Nats will go down the backside. Blue Shift flashing in to the back lines. Gonna find a lot of damage here, and Dirty Midman is shooting the guns in the back. Flash forward! And the connect from Frosty. That's gonna be 2 for 1 in favor of ShadowZ in this early game. Now that happened, I can continue. Dirt as Lights ShadowZ rounding it out with the Ziggs and the Nautilus in the bottom lane.
And for ShadowZ on the blue side this time, we have Young Nats, who just pulled off literally the best Shen E I have ever seen in my life. I have never seen anything close to that. Blue Shift on Lilia in the jungle, Frosty with Seraphine in the mid lane, Dirty Midmain has Zeri in the bot lane, and Donell's girlfriend will be the Yuumi that is faithfully attached to this Zeri during the lane phase. And it looks like possibly some kind of pick trying to be set up here from Goldfish with Nautilus camping out, but we'll see if it is, if Dirty Midmain and Donell's girlfriend fall for this one.
Yeah, we will see here as, you know... Alright, wait, what happened? I don't have anyone on my... Wait a minute, is your scoreboard messed up?
No, it is not.
Oh, no. Okay, it's fixed, Okay, we got it. Okay.
All right, we resolved the issue. It's fine. Riot just likes to throw new things at us every single week.
Yeah, but so Dirty Midman getting that kill is really crucial here. Getting that extra longsword is going to help so much in this lane. Just to out damage in the early game, and obviously early level 2 comes through for them. We'll see what happens. Ooh! As that dredge line was so close to landing here. And no ignite for Lights Genesis, and the double combat summoners, actually triple combat summoners still for Dirty Midman and Donell's girlfriend in the bottom lane. So yeah, it might be a little bit hard to kill.
A little bit surprised. You know, a lot of times when we see Yuumi, it'll take the heal as well as, you know, the exhaust or the ignite, and then it kind of frees up the AD carry to take cleanse, which I actually think would have been really good in this game. But Mossy invading, trying to find Blue Shift here, but look, Young Nats on the roam first. We'll see if they have the Taunt. No, not gonna find the mark here, but Frosty first to roam from the mid lane. And now Blue Shift and Frosty are chasing down the mid, or the top and the jungle of the Goldfish squad. Peanut having to flash away to safety, otherwise would have gone down there. For the time being, just flashes burned. Yeah, so it is 2 flashes from Goldfish. You know, that's great. On the other hand, though, Okami was able to just sit mid, and this is something that we saw last game as well, is, you know, Frosty spending a lot of time roaming around, trying to help out the team, and, you know, getting those cooldowns could be impactful, but it's sort of dependent on ShadowZ continuing to try to take advantage of that. So, you know, maybe trying to pull off some sort of dive in the top lane here in a couple of minutes when Peanut's still missing the flash, or maybe invading Mossy's jungle. But if they're not able to do that, you know, if Goldfish is able to kind of get away with the next few minutes without having those flashes, it means that it's very much worth it for this Kiana, who absolutely wants to get to that level 6 when she can start to sort of roam around and be the menace team fight initiation champion that she can be. So Dirt here is going to be pushed pretty far back on the Ziggs, but now he's going to be back on the Comfort. He got real excited last game, so they're just going to let him chill out a little bit in this second one.
Yeah, and both junglers have now made their way down into this bottom lane here. You can see a little bit of better tempo for Mossy. Does have that slight CS advantage in the top lane. Peanut out of mana, so not really going to be too effective on the Gragas for the time being, but no plays are really going to be happening up there, so shouldn't really matter too much. First dragon of the game is going to be Mountain. That's spawning in about 10 seconds. And yeah, Light Genesis went for an early roam. Obviously couldn't find anything, but still, you know, just kind of being a menace in Blue Shift's jungle here, and gonna find the root. Root's gonna come through from Okami, and Blue Shift has to flash out to safety, but the red buff will go over to Okami, so that's gonna be a successful red buff steal. Light Genesis gonna get rooted up for the time being. Just the red buff going over, but they're trying to look for more here. Dirt could be in trouble, getting slowed up. And Dirty Midman is running him down, but not going to find anything as the Dirt's too fast, able to get out.
Yeah, and look at Frosty here.
Oh, Frosty Ignite ticking down, and Okami is going to find the solo kill.
And I was just about to say before he took that pathing, which by the way was just incredibly greedy to path that way into the mid lane. There's just no world in which he should be able to do that, especially against Kiana. But he was almost down 2 levels worth of XP at that point on Seraphine, and it's all well and good to be helping out Blue Shift in the jungle, kind of babysitting him against Light Genesis to make sure that he can continue to pick up these camps. But at a certain point for the Seraphine, you're already the supportive style champion, and if you fall behind against Kiana, she's just going to eat you for breakfast. And we saw Okami doing exactly that, as Peanut, the first one to go back in the top lane, didn't have to use his teleport either, which is going to be pretty crucial for him, and is going to start to win out on these trades until Young Nats can make his way back to the base.
Blue Shift being spotted on this top side, it could mean that if Mossy wanted to just run down to this dragon, it would be in their favor. Both bot laners took it back here, so we'll see if anyone opts to go for that, but maybe just looking to collapse onto Blue Shift. No flash on the Lilia here, and the stun's going to come down. Thunder falls as well, and the root follows through. Oh, it's wide left, and Blue Shift does have a chance to get out, but the flash hook is not going to find the mark. Stand United will give a shield, and that's enough to deter the rest of Goldfish Gaming.
Yeah, they are. It looks like Light Genesis is going to run to the mid lane, just kind of dissuade Frosty from being able to push this one in. But really important to point out is that this entire time, Dirt has just been able to 1v2 in the bottom lane against Dirty Midmain and Donell's girlfriend. Now, that is kind of just the nature of Ziggs. That's the reason why this pick is so popular for a lot of teams, but Goldfish in particular, because they can just leave Dirt on an island down here. They really don't need to worry about anything. And I praised the Zeri and the Yuumi combination because of how well it can scale later into the game, but this is kind of the flip side of it, where earlier on, you really struggle to have pressure against something like a Ziggs that can just use the satchel to get himself to safety when it's needed.
Yeah, and the one thing I want to mention here is that this wave, it's in a pretty bad spot. It should just be glued for the bottom lane of ShadowZ, and I'm not really sure how this is pushing back, but
yeah,
the fact that they should just be able to zone Dirt all the way off so far back, and just be able to freeze this wave permanently. So I'm kind of confused at how that's happening, but now Frosty is in trouble as Okami finding the combinations here, getting a lot of damage down, and you can see, I mean, that was pretty much instantly taking over half HP away.
Yeah, and that's just Frosty, and you have to remember that with this supreme display of talent from Kiana that's going to come out later on, she's going to be able to do that amount of damage to multiple members of ShadowZ with that AoE damage. So it's just really, really scary for them, especially since Kiana has basically gotten through lane phase for free, even picking up a kill. But Light Genesis is a little bit under leveled against the Zeri and the Yuumi, which is going to be the consequence of those roams that we were just talking about. So not going to be able to look for anything for the next couple of minutes at least, until he's able to pick up the ult.
Oh, going for it now, and just like that, supreme display of talent is going to find Okami a kill under the tower.
Yeah, and even with the bot lane being pushed up here, it is Goldfish somehow, some way, finding priority over the river, getting the dragon. I just really don't think they should be allowed to do this so easily. It is because Lilia's on the top side of the map, but the question is, why is she on the top side of the map? I get, Peanut's really far pushed in. If you want to go for a gank on the Gragas, you certainly could, but you got to go for something, right? And instead, it is just Blue Shift kind of just dawdling around, it seems like, in this topside river. Again, hopefully picking up the Rift Herald here, but just started so late, well after the dragon was done. And, hopefully ShadowZ will be able to make use of this one. But as long as they sort of keep being pushed in, especially in these side lanes, it's going to be hard to find a good spot to drop that Rift Herald.
For sure. And I mean, in game one, ShadowZ was able to pick up both Rift Heralds, I believe. And, they were able to get the first tower in the bottom lane. Or wait. No,
Goldfish got both of them, but ShadowZ did get the first tower. Yeah.
Right. So, just a little bit, I don't know, a little bit confusing here, as Blue Shift is, we saw last week, Blue Shift looks so good with these neutral objectives and just being able to cure so many of them. But this game hasn't really been as much of the case.
Yeah, and I have to say, I've always kind of just been biased this way, even when it was a little bit more in the meta, but I'm just not really a fan of Lilia in general. Does definitely bring some of that AoE damage if she can get fed, but the problem is in games like this, in a matchup against a champion like Volibear that's just really straightforward, he's going to run at you, he's going to slap you with his paws. This Peanut's going to go pretty low, but I think he'll be able to survive.
Ooh, Supreme Sword of Talent not gonna find the stun, just barely missing out on Blue Shift there. But you know that you have to imagine that certainly would have been a kill if the pixels were a little bit longer. But either way, you know, another blue buff steal is gonna go over to Okami, and I don't think Blue Shift has had any blue buff or red buffs this game.
Yeah, they maybe they must have gotten the first one, I think, or I don't know if that actually was the first one. Maybe when they went,
it was.
Invaded. Yeah, I think you're right. So, Lilia kind of likes to sandbag that jungle clear because gonna see the flash in response to Light's Genesis. Was that just the Hex flash, or was it actual flash?
Yeah, I think Hex flash.
So Light's Genesis, once again, just absolutely wreaking havoc, kind of being like the boogeyman, always seems to be waiting in the brush as long as he's got some sort of hook on his side. But Blue Shift is going to come over here into the bottom lane. I do like this rotation. Dirt's still here trying to clear out the wave, but he is alone. Mossy on this side of the map, though, so can he come to support his trusty little Ziggs? We'll see.
TP time goes to sleep under the tower, but the Mega Inferno Bomb is going to clear out the way for the most part. Blue Shift does have the Herald, but the rest of the team is on the way. No sleep for Blue Shift now, and the Predator is going to be popped. Here we go. Stormbringer is going to go on, and the Dredge line finds Blue Shift, and Mossy will get the kill there. We'll see if there's anything further here, as it's a 1-for-0 in favor of Goldfish for the time being.
And the time was invested by Blue Shift to pick up this Rift Herald, also to run down into this bottom lane, and it's, it looks like it's about 2/3 of the way through the cooldown for this Rift Herald to be able to drop it. So now Blue Shift is going to be pretty desperate as to where he puts this down. He's not really going to be able to choose as well, as much as he would like to. So for the side of ShadowZ, that's just going to be some time that is potentially just wasted by their jungler. I liked what he did coming down into this bot lane, but they just don't quite have the amount of dive to pull off going under the turret against this Ziggs. And I was criticizing the Lilia earlier, and this is part of the reason. Like I said, something like Volibear, very straightforward, brings the CC, brings some sort of engage element. Lilia does like to dive in as well, but when you start to fall behind like this, are you going to be able to dive in and actually do damage before you're just dead, is the question. And I think the answer is likely to be no, but I would love to see Blue Shift prove me wrong in these team fights and get some kind of really impactful sleep that can, I guess, give him an in, I want to say, for ShadowZ, as it is the gold lead picked up by Goldfish so far, but only 800, so game is certainly anyone's to take still.
I think, yeah, and I think, one of the biggest positives about Lilia is the fact that even if you're that far behind, you can just flash in and get a 5-man sleep, right?
That's true.
And that is definitely enough to turn around a fight, turn around a game even. Just that ability is so strong here, as the Rift Herald is going to be spawned into this bottom lane, and Dirt going to have a hard time clearing this out. You can't really stop this charge. So it's going to connect there, going to take a little bit of that tower away, but the tower's not going to fall yet here as Okami looking for it. Not going to find the root there, and we'll get slowed up.
Okay.
Either way, damage traded back about evenly there, which is pretty impressive from Frosty. But you have to imagine if Okami hit, that root, it would have been said and done.
Yeah, and all Okami has to do to or all Frosty has to do to trade even, is Dirt's gonna go low but survive here.
Oh no! Oh, nice usage there. It's Dirty Midman, but the Supreme Sword of Talent over the wall as the Stormbringer is gonna find in as well here, and Okami is huge on that play. Blue Shift on the other side, getting chased down by Light's Genesis, but gonna have to turn back.
And for Dirty Mid Main, jump, even when he's able to jump over the wall, was jumping over to the wrong side of the map, but Okami able to use the ultimate on Kiana all the way around to pick up the stun. And it's exactly what you sort of mentioned in the champion select. You were referring more to the Nautilus ride chains, but same thing with Kiana, has that sort of long range ability to lock down the Zeri, and once that's the case, will be pretty easy to zero out. But I do want to go back to what we talked about a little bit again during the champion select, which is the scaling that is offered by this team composition that ShadowZ has brought onto the Rift this time. We saw last game just from Dirt how in these mid to late game team fights, Zeri can definitely start to take over, and Donel's girlfriend will start to scale as well on the Yuumi. Hasn't picked up an item yet, but we definitely see teams when they run this Yuumi that they feel comfortable going into the later part of the game where she can just kind of, hop from ally to ally and continually shield and heal. But as long as the initial burst of damage from Goldfish remains strong enough to take down the Zeri, it will always be a hard day if you are ShadowZ, as Young Nat's not clearing that word out. I don't know if it's a bug.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that either. There we go. Yeah, Peanut.
Yeah, it was not.
Peanut's going to be able to clear out, and Goldfish is going to walk into this topside river and just gain full control. Even, Lights Genesis going as deep as into the wolves of Blue Shift, just securing vision, and you can see that this blue side now of Blue Shift's jungle is completely lit up, and Okami is looking for more Supreme Slave talent. Not going to find the mark, though, as Okami has to just back up. Blue Shift is in the wings, looking for ready to be backup if Frosty needs it, but instead, under the tower he goes. The Stormbringer is going to disable the tower. Judgeline lands in a two-man encore, and this could be pretty bad here for Goldfish Gaming, as now Blue Shift going to flash in, find the shutdown on Tomasi, and that's going to be a 2 for 0. Okami trying to make it back, though. Trying to find one kill back as the Ignite's going to be ticking down, and yes, Okami goes on a rampage as Frosty, 1 HP, will be able to, use that tower to safety. And Okami's gonna have to short away, but the Mega Inferno Bomb! Sniper gang! Dirt is gonna find it from long range.
And the missing things coming down into the bot lane, as Dirt has just had like a hilarious I don't know, just how different the two games, the contrast is the word I'm looking for, between the two games for Dirt in this series are kind of ridiculous. With the first game on Zeri being handed over a lot of these kills into the early game, and then into the second game on the signature Ziggs pick, just being left on an island, as Lights Genesis is invading like the enemy wolves, and meanwhile Dirt's just 1v2, and then even still managing to snipe out the kill onto Frosty. So I imagine that's got to be pretty annoying, to play against that if you're ShadowZ, because it just seems like, for Dirt, he's not the one who like makes the flashy plays, kind of like Okami is known for, even Mossy to some extent as well, and it can also be their downfall. But for him, just playing this really steady presence, and Lights Genesis.
Blue Shift's gonna get hooked up there as Dirty Midman is going in, trying to find the 1v3. Just gonna repel the rest of Goldfish off.
Yeah, and gold lead still isn't huge. It's about 2.2k, give or take a little bit. Looks like for now, but mid lane turret not going to be alive for too much longer. This wave will survive to keep it alive, but Mossy has other ideas.
Oh no, Frosty gonna get stunned up under the tower here, but wait a minute. Oh no, Mossy! Stormbringer back in the bite. Is one more auto enough? Yes, it is, as Mossy is gonna find the kill, but it's a traded back by Blue Shift. Peanut having to run for the hills here as the taunt is gonna find the mark. But I don't think you have the damage to kill here. And Dirty Midman going in onto Dirt and Lights Genesis. Look at the final trap there. Gonna find Lights Genesis here, and we'll see. Dirty Midman should be able to chase down Dirt. And oh no, it's the Ziggs. He looks so sad as he goes down here, and the shutdown comes through for Dirty Midman.
Yeah, and it is. I will say it's all fun and games for Goldfish until Dirty Midman starts to pick up some of these kills, like he did in that exchange, and all these things are tied into each other. Like Volibear dives into the mid lane, Okami not able to follow up on the engage because of the fact that the wave was not there, and he would have had to tank the turret in order to go under there. Probably would have just straight up died to the turret. So, I'm sure he's saying in that situation, no, call off the dive, I can't go. But Mossy just forces that one a little bit, and then as a result, not able to be there to defend his bot lane and help them out. And now we do start to get to that point, right, Chains, where Zeri can just start to run down the Ziggs and the Nautilus. And as a whole, Goldfish has plenty, as these top laners continuing to slap on each other, but as a whole, Goldfish has enough burst damage to get through the Yuumi heals. But Ziggs and Nautilus, just as a duo, not going to be their forte, as Ziggs going to be a little bit slower, kind of more of a poke style. So that does start to come online for Dirty Midmain, and there are still win conditions for ShadowZ. Young Nats.
Oh my gosh, look at this. Dirt is behind
Secret
enemy
Agent
lines here.
Ziggs.
Yeah, we'll see if he can find the damage onto Young Nats. I'm not sure if there's anything to find, though, as they're just going to run down into this topside river. But for the time being, a nice little lane swap. Maybe now they'll see it as Lights Genesis is looking for a Dredge line dodged out by the taunt. We'll see Peanut running in. Does have that chem tank coming through as the cask is going to be nice. And the satchel will be used to take down the tower. But I think the bowling ball from Lilia is going to reply. Oh, here we go. TP coming in. Frosty with the encore is going to find one as Dirt has to flash away to safety. But now Light Genesis in the mid. And Dirty Midmain is going in. He's going to find one already as Light Genesis goes to sleep. Mossy trying to find the damage in the back lines here. But will just go down instead as a double kill comes through for Blue Shift. And it is massive here. Dirty Midmain is going to find one more as Light Genesis is going to walk right in as Okami has now joined the party. But it's a supreme display of talent as Dirty Midmain has to run for the hills, taking really, really low. One more should be enough to take him down. But is there one more to be found? It doesn't look like it yet. As the Yuumi heals are now coming through as Frosty is trying to find the damage. Okami is taken pretty low as well here as the wave now comes in. Dirty Midmain trying to find the damage under the tower as now Okami has to run, caught on the wrong side of the rift. Oh, Young Nat's singing so low. Here's Okami. Uses the grass blade to get in. Blast Cone is utilized very nicely. And Okami tries to go in, try to find the kill on Dirty Midmain. But the 950 gold shutdown is going to go over to the Zeri. Now sitting at 5, 1, and 3.
And Okami just wasn't there at the beginning of that engagement. He was still in the mid lane, not ready to go. So this is why ShadowZ was able to take that fight to begin with. In the world where the Kiana is there right away, definitely Dirty Midmain has to be a lot more scared, can't be so aggressive with his positioning. So at the point where Okami arrived and was trying to go, 1v4 over by the Krug camp, he did land the ultimate, he did land the full combo onto Zeri, but all alone without the help of his teammates, Yuumi is going to start to heal through that damage provided by the Kiana. So these are some of the win conditions that ShadowZ needs to hit on if they want to take this to a possible game 3. And with 5 kills, and especially that 950 gold shutdown, as you had pointed out, right, Chains, Zeri's going to be feeling happy right now. She is online with 2 items done, also sitting with about 1,200 gold in his back pocket as well. So probably going to be able to finish off even a 3rd item once he makes it back to base. So for ShadowZ, they are up now almost about 800 gold. But more importantly for me, their team comp has the better scaling overall between the two as we work towards the later parts of this game.
Yeah, and it becomes very, very scary as you go later on into the game with the Zeri and the Yuumi. And I know that this Runons is going to come through and probably 200 more gold for Dirty Midmain. But it becomes so scary once the Zeri hits 3 items. And it's going to be really on to Okami to just basically find the one-shot assassination on Dirty Midmain. But it's hard because, you have a Trinity Force and a Titanic Hydra. And this is giving you a lot of health right now on the Zeri.
Yeah, and something that will help Goldfish in that effort is the potential Infernal Soul. That one is going to be spawning in just 56 seconds. Goldfish quietly throughout this game have been able to pick up 3 dragons already. So I always talk about it, but I think that this just puts you in a great position macro-wise from Goldfish, even though, we're just talking up ShadowZ, the scaling that they have. it's going to be Goldfish as the ones who are able to dictate when they want to fight and what they want to fight over, because they could definitely stand to lose this dragon if they get put in a situation where, you know, they get picked off beforehand, or, you know, they're just pushed out. But instead, it is going to be lots of Goldfish vision in the river and on the red side jungle of ShadowZ, as 19 seconds until this one spawns. And Goldfish, it looks like they made their choice already. They definitely want to force ShadowZ to fight over this one.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that makes sense here. You know, getting this mid lane pushed in, getting that priority in the lane there, forcing someone from ShadowZ to have to go and clear that here as the dragon is now spawned up, and just being able to, you know, take refuge in this jungle is gonna and force ShadowZ to have to walk into you, and you never really want to have to walk into someone here. And the dragon's gonna go down here. Dredge's gonna find the mark onto blue shift. That's a depth charge. Will find Dirty Midman pushed out of the fight for the time being. Is gonna go golden now. A two-man sleep comes through as Mossy diving in the backline as the Stormbringer supreme display of talent, and 3 are down already. A triple kill comes through for Okami, and it is only Dirty Midman left alive. Gonna get stunned, uprooted. The shutdown goes over to Mossy, steals the penta, and a quadra kill for Okami. And Goldfish Gaming is huge, gets the 5-for-0 ace, the Dragon Infernal Soul, and gonna be the Baron.
Yeah, and it is just Mossy stealing away the pentakill from his mid laner, so I'm sure there's some flame going on about that. But I have to admit, at the beginning of the fight, you know, yes, Dirty Midman is kind of pushed onto the backline, not able to deal damage, but you start to feel a little bit concerned when a lot of that burst is invested into other members of ShadowZ. But at the end of the day, being able to kill all 3 of them right away, or being able to kill 3 members, means that Dirty Midman just can't get enough peel to be able to survive, because it did end up being a 5-for-0, I believe, with no one falling, I don't think, from Goldfish. And Okami, you know, in Okami we trust, just coming in, hitting his abilities, absolutely beautiful on this. Kiana has shown a high level of mastery on this champion in past weeks as well. And just showing how, in terms of individual skill, why this team is ranked as highly as they are as the first place in the CCS Thursday conference.
Yeah, and now, okay, that is an interesting choice there. I'm seeing in the chat, Ziggs or Dirt picking up the Chemtech Putrefier, which is going to give grievous wounds to enemies that you shield or heal. As far as I'm aware, I don't remember them adding a heal or a shield to Zig's kit, but nonetheless, you know, Dirt has been playing pretty well this series. So maybe
I will say, it does give grievous wounds just for hitting people, but it gives a higher percentage for shielding people. So it still does do sort of what it's intended to do, you know, which is against the Yuumi. You want to cut down on the healing, but I definitely feel like Morello's probably the better choice in this particular situation. Even just sitting on the Oblivion Orb is a choice that I know lots of people take as well. But you know, either way, if he can make it work, you know, no worries. But that is interesting to point out, and I wonder what the thought behind that is.
I mean, certainly it was an accident or something. I mean, certainly this couldn't have been the actual, you know, intentional choice here. But Dirty Midman gonna get stunned up under the tower. We go as the Lost Chapter. Dirty Midman goes golden for the time being. But yeah, I mean, look at this. There's just too much damage coming through here, and Dirty Midman is down. The mid lane inner tower will fall as well here, and with 5v3 numbers in favor of Goldfish, they're going to try to break open this base.
Yeah, and they're pinging assists me here as Okami looked like he wanted to recall into the base, but the team vetoing that, instead saying, we got the Baron, let's just pick up this inhibitor. Still 19 seconds before Dirty Midman will respawn, but there's no other objectives on the map for Goldfish to fall back to. So I do want to just say, Rychains, like, I mean, we don't need to talk about this any longer, but with the Chemtech Purifier, it kind of reminds me back in the meta of Ardent Sensor, where even champions without a shield would build Ardent Sensor and then build another item to shield the teammates to be able to activate Ardent Sensor. So they could have a Locket coming through here next for the Ziggs. You never know, and then then it will actually work. But
that would be crazy.
Probably not going to see that. But I was just trying to think of like how possibly could that work, and that kind of that meta that, I mean, if anyone who played in it probably just wants to get it out of their head. But
I would buy some viewers pro comp subscriptions if that was the case.
All right, I'm gonna hold you to it.
Speaking of pro comps, promo code CCS25. Check it out. Some good stuff there. Nonetheless, yeah, I mean, in the driver's seat, Goldfish completely here in this game. Young Nats could be in trouble here. Already used that taunt, so there's no real escape abilities. And yeah, I mean, lockdown comes through. Abilities are coming. The slows as well, and Mossy's gonna find the kill there. And either way, you know, the mid lane inhibitor has been broken already by Goldfish. You can see them trying to get these side lanes pushed in, trying to get pressure on the sides of the map.
Yeah, and even Peanut in the bottom lane there does force the flash out of Frosty in the 1v1. So pretty much the quietest member, I would say, throughout the series, but especially throughout this game in particular for Peanut. Has been kind of on a lot of zoning duty, but...
Oh, Frosty getting engaged on, just gonna die under the tower. Nowhere is safe from Mossy.
And Dirty Midmay just can't get back to the base or with Donale's girlfriend. So, you know, they're just totally happy to have this Gragas zone him off.
Yeah, they're just going to end here. And look at that. Blue Shift is just instantly destroyed. And Peanut now has to run for the hills. But all you got to do is just stall for as long as you can here, because your team is ending the game. Young Nat's trying to make a hero play going in. Going to find one kill on the backside as Blue Shift will go down. Or sorry, no, as Mossy will go down. But there's nothing you can do as the Nexus will fall. And Goldfish Game is going to take it 2-0.
Yeah, Goldfish Gaming make it look easy with a 2-0 victory here. And there were definitely moments for ShadowZ, especially in the second game. You know, we saw specifically up onto the top side, Dirty Midmain was able to pick up some kills in that team fight, but you know, once Okami was actually grouped with the team, once they were that 5-man unit, they just became totally unstoppable. And the amount of burst damage that they were able to provide through the champions that they picked, as well as the CC, you know, Mossy and Light Genesis just relentlessly jumping into that backline over and over and over again. And, you know, I wouldn't say that Dirty Midmain had a bad game by any means, but, you know, just not able to do enough. And I don't really feel like it's reflected in the KDAs, but I think that Blue Shift really struggled in this one, was kind of pushed out of his own jungle time and time again by Light's Genesis and by Mossy as well. So for him, a little bit of a disappointing series and some holes shown in the ShadowZ lineup, especially in terms of kind of their dependency on the spot lane. If Dirty Midmain and Donale's girlfriend are not able to carry, you know, who else do they sort of turn to is the question, and they're not really getting any answers out of this set.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm just gonna, you know, agree with everything you said there, because I agree with a lot of it, and it's so hard to see, you know, even though Dirty Midmain was able to play very well, you know, it's so hard to play into this team composition, right? Especially when the Kiana gets as fed as she did, you know. It is so impossible to play AD carry into that, even if, you know, you're playing Zeri with a Yuumi on you and you're going to be building tanky. So nonetheless, I mean, credit to Dirty Midmain and Donale's girlfriend. Still played pretty well on the bottom side, but it is all Goldfish today, able to take it in 2-0 fashion, able to preserve their undefeated record here. We're going to take a short break, but we'll be back in a few short minutes for an interview with the Goldfish Gaming top laner, Peanut. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back, and we are joined by Peanut, the top laner of the winning team, Goldfish Gaming. Peanut, thank you for being here. And just want to start it off with, how did you feel about that game and your own performance there in the series?
Uh, uh, as per usual for little Peanut, he's destined to be on tank duty for his eternal life. And I think I did pretty well not feeding that time, as I usually tend to get caught out sometimes. It was my first zero death game on the Gragas until I got mauled by the Zeri and the cat.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about, you said you're being put on tank duty is the way that you put it. And in solo queue, I know that you're kind of the Mundo's your champion.
Yes, sir.
But I also have heard from your drafting coach that you really insist on picking these tanks in particular, which I feel like is a little bit atypical for top lane players, especially since the meta has kind of shifted away from that for multiple seasons. So, can you talk a little bit about like why you feel like tanks are really fun to play? What about them what makes them so appealing for you as a top laner?
Well, for me in particular, that's just kind of consistent for me for like all video games. I like just playing that brick wall. I don't need to play the flashy jump over walls 1v29 champion. If I can just sit on top of an ADC and they struggle to kill me, that makes my day.
Yeah, and we definitely saw that coming through for sure in this series as you were able to kind of be a menace. Something else I want to mention just about one of your teammates is in game one, Dirt usually always put on, the Ziggs duty, the Vygar duty, did end up, you put him on the Zeri, and in sort of that mid game when you're fighting around the dragon, there was that moment where Dirt was able to zero out, I think it was 3 or even maybe 4 low health members of Shadows. What were some of the team comms like in those situations? Because I feel like normally it's, Okami or Mossy, kind of down to the wire, but this time it's Dirt, and I wonder if that was different at all.
Yeah, all we heard was cheering, screaming Dirt's name in glory. you know, I tried to not go deaf during moments like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
I'm
like you
sure.
said, usually it's the Mossy or Akami show. Akami gets his ego through the roof every single game, but it's nice to finally see someone like Dirt, you know, get more spotlight, to say the least. Because he's always on the mage duty. So in this game, he was finally able to showcase that he is capable of playing other anything else than AFK APC.
Sure. Yeah, and for you as well. I mean, you talk about how Dirt's put on sort of these role-playing champions, but we already referenced how that can be the case for your picks too. So I wonder if you can tell us, as a team at this sort of plat diamond elo, what allows Goldfish to have the discipline to stick to these kind of role-playing champions when it can be tempting to try to pick for lane every single game? What keeps you honest in that regard?
It's just more so when it's not broken and it's working, why would you ever try to fix it? So far, we've had smashing success with the roles we've been, doing. Me as the weak side tank, Okami as this redheaded stepchild, and Mossy as the other teammates of our enemies found out, he likes to babysit Akame. So he carries most of the time, but it works.
Yeah. Right. And
Like
yeah.
it's hard to explain because it's just like something so stupid and simple.
No, I mean, I think it makes sense. I mean, I think, just kind of eliminating those variables of, why your team could possibly be losing. Like you said, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And it certainly has worked so far, in this split. And after this win, I don't think it. I think actually, I think you have clinched for sure the number one seed. I want to say after this win, so that means that you will be able to choose your opponent in the second round of the playoffs. So getting a potential, getting this bye, choosing your opponent. How much does that mean to you as a team into these playoffs? Do you feel like that's something that you need in order to make it to the finals and potentially win, or if you could talk a little bit about that.
I personally don't think it means a big amount because other than the enemy teams we've struggled against, like what was it, Horizon and Team Death
TDR,
Realm?
yeah,
Yeah, I believe it's not necessary. Like those are the two teams that I am in particular afraid of
sure.
because yeah, what was it? I think it was on TDR. They played the Trundle game,
Mm,
and that was one of the cracks through our strategy because my champions, my not that I can't play like solo, like bruisers or whatever, but when I'm playing Ornn or something of that matter, you can't necessarily fight a Trundle or a Camille or a split pushing monster. So that kind of I feel like if teams can adjust to that level of play style, maybe they can succeed better. But at the same time, who's to say we don't have something up our sleeve to suddenly change if they do something similar like that?
all right. Well, with that, definitely giving us something to look forward to as we move forward into the playoffs. So Peanut, thank you so much for joining us for this interview. We really appreciate you
This is my pleasure. It's
coming
great
on.
being here.
And yeah, absolutely. We want to let you get back to your team, but thanks for joining us. And Rychains, if you wanted to send us out.
Yeah, so that's gonna do it here for us for CCS Thursday. Goldfish taking the 2-0 victory over ShadowZ in commanding fashion here. And that's gonna be it for us here. Hope you guys enjoyed the cast. Have a great week, and we'll see you back next week, Thursday, 8 p.m. for some more CCS action. See you guys later.